ExamPrep.School. Rhode Island Accident and Health Insurance Producer Exam. Exam code ExamPrep.School or OPHealth02. There are 4 practice exams in this series. This video covers Practice Exam 1. The first 20 questions are free. In this video, we will be covering the following major categories for Practice Exam 1. Field underwriting procedures, other insurance concepts, policy provisions, clauses, and riders, RI laws, rules common to life, plus accident and health, RI laws, rules pertinent to accident and health only, social insurance, types of policies. Let's walk through the format. I'll read each question and its choices. Let's get started. Question 1. Which of the following best defines the own occupation total disability standard in individual disability income policies? A. Insured qualifies for full benefits when unable to perform the substantial duties of any occupation suited to their education or experience. B. Insured qualifies for partial benefit upon total inability in their own occupation, but ability to earn from other work is assessed under a residual formula. C. Insured qualifies for full benefits when unable to perform any occupation capable of generating income, regardless of prior training. D. Insured qualifies for full benefits when unable to perform the material and substantial duties of their regular occupation, independent of ability to work in another field. A countdown circle appears in the top right. Once it completes, the answer is revealed. You can pause at any time if you'd like longer to think. If you'd like additional practice covering more topics, see the description for our book. The correct answer is D. The own occupation definition focuses on inability to perform the material and substantial duties of the insured's regular occupation, regardless of other work capacity. Other options describe any occupation or residual definitions. Reason A is not correct. This option describes the any occupation definition, which requires inability to perform any occupation suited to the insured's background. Reason B is not correct. This describes the residual concept, which provides partial benefits based on loss of earning capacity, rather than total own occupation disability. Reason C is not correct. This option also reflects the any occupation requirement by focusing on any income-producing work rather than the insured's own occupation. Question 2. Under the any occupation total disability standard in individual disability income contracts, an insured is considered totally disabled when they are unable to A. Engage in any gainful work, with benefits prorated to actual earnings lost. B. Perform the substantial and material duties of their specific regular occupation, irrespective of other work capacity. C. Earn at least 75% of pre-disability income in their own occupation. D. Perform any occupation for which they are reasonably suited by education, training, or experience. The correct answer is D. The any occupation definition requires inability to perform any job suited to the insured's education, experience, or training. Other options describe own occupation or residual concepts. Reason A is not correct. This conflates residual benefit calculation with any occupation total disability, mixing concepts. Reason B is not correct. This option describes the own occupation definition, which focuses on inability in the insured's regular job. Reason C is not correct. This reflects a percentage-based own occupation approach, not any occupation total disability. Question 3. Which statement correctly describes the residual disability benefit concept in individual disability income policies? A. Full benefit paid when insured is unable to perform the substantial duties of any occupation suited to their background. B. Partial benefit paid when current earnings fall below a specified percentage of pre-disability income due to partial inability to perform usual duties. C. Full benefit payable only upon total elimination of ability to work in the insured's own occupation. D. Lump sum payment calculated as a percentage of the total premium paid for the policy term. The correct answer is B. The residual disability benefit pays a prorated amount based on reduced earnings relative to pre-disability income when partial disability persists. Other options describe total disability definitions or misstate benefit format. Reason A is not correct. This option describes the any occupation total disability feature, not residual benefits. Reason C is not correct. This option describes the own occupation total disability benefit, requiring total inability in one's occupation. Reason D is not correct. This confuses pricing structures with benefit payment. Residual benefits are tied to income loss, not premiums. Question 4. Emma has a disability policy with a 30-day elimination period and a 180-day recurrence provision. She returns to full duty and goes back to work for 45 days before the same disability reoccurs. How will the elimination period apply when benefits restart? A. Benefits resume immediately without any new elimination. B. Benefits resume only after completing the entire elimination period again. C. Benefits resume after completing just half of the elimination period. D. Benefits resume only after serving the remaining days of the original elimination. The correct answer is A. Because the recurrence occurs within the 180-day recurrence period, the elimination period does not reset and benefits resume immediately without a new waiting period. Reason B is not correct. This assumes the elimination period always resets, but the recurrence provision prevents a reset within the specified window. Reason C is not correct. Half the elimination isn't ever applied under standard recurrence rules. It's either full reset or immediate restart. Reason D is not correct. Claiming only remaining days applies when a new elimination partially overlaps prior service. But here, no reset occurs within the recurrence period. Question 5. Carlos's policy has a 60-day elimination period and a 5-year benefit period. After receiving 2 years of benefits, he returns to work for 3 months, then becomes disabled again under the same policy. Which applies when benefits restart? A. A new elimination period applies before benefits resume, and 3-year benefit period remains. B. No new elimination period applies and 3-year benefit period remains. C. A new elimination period applies before benefits resume, and full 5-year benefit period resets. D. No new elimination period applies, and full 5-year benefit period resets. The correct answer is A. A second disability always triggers a new elimination period, but the benefit period is cumulative. 2 years are used, leaving 3 years remaining. Reason B is not correct. This ignores the requirement that each new disability must satisfy the elimination period regardless of benefit remaining. Reason C is not correct. Benefit periods do not reset to full term simply because a new elimination period applies. Reason D is not correct. Both claiming no elimination and a full reset misstate standard policy terms for benefit and elimination periods. Question 6. Sarah's disability contract guarantees that coverage cannot be canceled and premiums cannot increase until she reaches age 65. Under what kind of renewal provision does this policy fall? A. Guaranteed renewable since coverage cannot be canceled, but premiums may change. B. Non-cancelable since the insurer cannot cancel or raise premiums until age 65. C. Conditionally renewable since renewal is at insurer's discretion under certain conditions. D. Optionally renewable since the insurer may refuse renewal at any time. The correct answer is A. Guaranteed renewable policies assure renewal and preclude cancellation, except for non-payment, but allow premium adjustments by class, whereas non-cancelable prevents any rate increases. Reason B is not correct. Non-cancelable would also prohibit any premium increases, not just guarantee coverage. Reason C is not correct. Conditionally renewable allows insurer to refuse renewal under specified conditions, unlike guaranteed terms. Reason D is not correct. Optionally renewable gives full insurer discretion to deny renewal, which isn't the case here. Question 7. Which of the following services is generally excluded from coverage under a basic hospital expense policy? A. Private room daily charges. B. Laboratory and X-ray services. C. Attending physicians' inpatient visit fees. D. Operating room and facility charges. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is attending physicians' inpatient visit fees because basic hospital expense policies cover hospital room and board, operating room, and miscellaneous hospital charges, but exclude physician service fees. Reason A is not correct. Daily room charges are included under basic hospital expense coverage as part of room and board benefits. Reason B is not correct. Laboratory and X-ray services are typically covered as miscellaneous hospital expenses under a basic hospital policy. Reason D is not correct. Operating room facility charges are included in the basic hospital expense policy's miscellaneous hospital expense coverage. Question 8. Under a basic medical expense policy, which of the following expenses is covered? A. Semi-private hospital room charges. B. Outpatient diagnostic laboratory tests. C. Operating room facility fees. D. Hospital miscellaneous expense items. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is outpatient diagnostic laboratory tests because basic medical expense policies cover physicians' fees and outpatient diagnostic services, but do not cover hospital room or miscellaneous hospital facility charges. Reason A is not correct. Room charges are covered under basic hospital expense, not under basic medical expense policies. Reason C is not correct. Operating room facility fees are included under a basic hospital policy's miscellaneous expenses, not under basic medical expense. Reason D is not correct. Hospital miscellaneous items are covered by basic hospital expense policies, not by basic medical expense policies. Question 9. An insured has a major medical policy with a $500 annual deductible and 80 divided by 20 coinsurance. If covered expenses total $5,000, what is the insured's total out-of-pocket payment for the year? A. $900. B. $1,400. C. $1,600. D. $500. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is $1,400 because the insured pays the $500 deductible plus 20% of the remaining $4,500 in covered expenses, which is $900. Reason A is not correct. 20% of the $4,500 balance is $900, but this excludes the deductible amount. Reason C is not correct. This total assumes an incorrect coinsurance calculation percentage or includes an extra expense amount. Reason D is not correct. This figure only represents the deductible and omits the coinsurance portion. Question 10. What is the primary purpose of the out-of-pocket maximum, stop-loss limit, in a major medical insurance policy? A. To limit the insurer's claim liability for high-cost treatments. B. To cap the insured's total deductible and coinsurance payments in a policy period. C. To control the frequency of covered medical services. D. To reduce premium costs by imposing higher cost sharing. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is to cap the insured's total deductible and coinsurance payments in a policy period, thereby limiting the insured's maximum out-of-pocket exposure. Reason A is not correct. The stop-loss limit protects the insured, not the insurer, by capping the insured's costs. Reason C is not correct. It does not control service frequency. It limits cost-sharing amounts. Reason D is not correct. While higher cost sharing can reduce premiums, the stop-loss limit specifically caps the insured's payments. Question 11. An HMO health plan requires a $30 copayment for each primary care office visit and 20% coinsurance for outpatient procedures after satisfying a $500 annual deductible. A member visits a primary care physician, then undergoes an outpatient minor surgery. Which statement best distinguishes the copayment from the coinsurance in this plan? A. The copayment is a percentage of covered medical expenses payable after the deductible, while the coinsurance is a fixed fee due at each visit. B. Both copayment and coinsurance are fixed amounts, but copayment applies to physician visits and coinsurance applies only to hospital admissions. C. The copayment applies only after the annual deductible is reached, whereas coinsurance applies before the deductible is satisfied. D. The copayment is a fixed dollar amount required at the time of service, regardless of total charges, while the coinsurance is a percentage of allowable expenses incurred after the deductible is met. The correct answer is D. The copayment is a predetermined fixed amount paid at each visit regardless of billed charges, whereas coinsurance is a percentage of allowable medical expenses that a member pays after satisfying the deductible. Reason A is not correct. This reverses the definitions by making the copayment percentage based and the coinsurance fixed, which is incorrect. Reason B is not correct. This falsely claims that coinsurance is a fixed dollar amount and restricts it to hospital admissions only. Reason C is not correct. This incorrectly states that copayments require meeting the deductible and that coinsurance applies beforehand. Question 12. Under a fee-for-service indemnity plan that uses a usual, customary, and reasonable UCR charge system, a patient receives an MRI from an out-of-network provider who bills $500. The insurer's UCR rate for that service in the geographic area is $350. The policy covers 80% of the UCR rate after the deductible has been met. Based on the UCR concept, how much will the insurer reimburse and how much will the patient pay for this MRI? A. Insurer reimburses $400. Patient pays $100. B. Insurer reimburses $280. Patient pays $220. C. Insurer reimburses $350. Patient pays $150. D. Insurer reimburses $250. Patient pays $250. The correct answer is B. Under UCR, reimbursement is limited to 80% of the allowed UCR rate. $350 multiplied by 80% equals $280, and the patient is responsible for the remaining 20% of UCR, $70, plus the amount charged above UCR, $150, totaling $220. Reason A is not correct. This applies the 80% coinsurance to the billed charge rather than the UCR rate, which is incorrect. Reason C is not correct. This pays the full UCR amount and ignores the coinsurance obligation. Reason D is not correct. This miscalculates both the reimbursement percentage and the excess charge under UCR. Question 13. A member's health plan requires pre-authorization for elective outpatient procedures. The member skips the pre-authorization step and undergoes a diagnostic imaging study billed at $800. The insurer denies the claim. According to typical pre-authorization requirements, what is the most likely financial consequence for the member? A. The insurer will retroactively approve the service and cover it in full. B. The insurer will reimburse at a reduced out-of-network rate, and the member pays the remainder. C. The member is responsible for the full $800 charge. D. The insurer will cover only 50% of the billed amount, and the member pays 50%. The correct answer is C. When pre-authorization is required and not obtained, the insurer enforces the denial, making the member liable for the entire billed amount since coverage conditions were not met. Reason A is not correct. This incorrectly suggests that retroactive approval and full coverage are automatic. Reason B is not correct. This assumes the insurer pays a partial network rate despite the lack of authorization, which is not typical. Reason D is not correct. This invents an arbitrary split of payment not aligned with standard policy terms. Question 14. Which of the following distinguishes an individual accident and health insurance policy from a typical group accident and health policy? A. Insurability evidence is required for each insured individual. B. The employer or sponsor owns the policy. C. Reason C is not correct. Benefit adjustments by medical approval are not related to the elimination period. D. Participants receive a certificate instead of an individual policy. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is evidence of insurability required for each covered person, which is a hallmark of individual contracts, whereas group policies pool risk across members without requiring individual underwriting. Reason B is not correct. Policy ownership by the employer or sponsor is characteristic of group policies, not individual policies. Reason C is not correct. Experience-rated underwriting applies to group policies, whereas individual policies underwrite each risk separately. Reason D is not correct. Issuance of a certificate in place of a policy is a feature of group plans, not individual ones. Question 15. Which statement best describes a contributory group health insurance plan? A. Employees share premium costs with at least 75% of eligible employees required to participate. B. The employer pays all premiums, requiring 100% of eligible employees to enroll. C. Employees bear the full premium cost without employer contributions. D. Employer partially subsidizes premiums with no proof of insurability required. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is employees share premium costs with a participation requirement of at least 75%, which defines contributory group plans, whereas non-contributory plans have different funding and participation rules. Reason B is not correct. Full employer funding with 100% participation describes a non-contributory plan rather than a contributory plan. Reason C is not correct. Plans where employees pay the entire premium without employer contributions are voluntary, not contributory, employer-sponsored plans. Reason D is not correct. Waiver of proof of insurability pertains to plan entry rules, not the contributory funding and participation structure. Question 16. Under a group health insurance arrangement, which document serves as evidence of coverage for individual participants? A. A document that outlines the policy's key provisions in summary form. B. A contractual agreement completed by each participant upon enrollment. C. The primary contract between the insurer and the plan sponsor. D. A certificate of insurance issued to each covered individual. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is the certificate of insurance, which evidences coverage for individual participants under a group master policy. The master policy itself is held by the plan sponsor. Reason A is not correct. A summary of key provisions is a policy schedule, not proof of individual coverage. Reason B is not correct. An enrollment agreement records applicant information but does not itself evidence coverage. Reason C is not correct. The master policy is held by the employer or sponsor and does not serve as evidence for individual members. Question 17. Which requirement most commonly governs eligibility for coverage under an employer-sponsored group health plan? A. Proof of insurability for each employee seeking coverage. B. Payment of the initial premium contribution by the employee. C. Full-time employment status and completion of a defined probationary period. D. Enrollment within the plan's specified annual open enrollment window. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is full-time employment status plus completion of any probationary period, which establishes eligibility for group health coverage, whereas the other options pertain to underwriting or enrollment timing rather than eligibility criteria. Reason A is not correct. Proof of insurability applies to individual underwriting, not group eligibility. Reason B is not correct. Premium payment concerns coverage continuation, not initial eligibility. Reason D is not correct. Open enrollment periods govern timing of enrollment, not an employee's eligibility status. Question 18. A company with 45 employees terminates Sam's employment. At termination, Sam, Sam's ex-spouse, Sam's dependent stepchild, and Sam's dependent sibling are covered under the group health plan. Which individual is not eligible for COBRA continuation coverage? A. Sam, the terminated employee. B. Sam's ex-spouse. C. Sam's dependent stepchild. D. Sam's dependent sibling. The correct answer is D. Only the employee, the spouse, and dependent children, including stepchildren, are qualified beneficiaries under COBRA. Siblings are not included. Reason A is not correct. Employees qualify as they are the primary qualified beneficiaries. Reason B is not correct. Ex-spouses qualify as they were covered at the time of the qualifying event. Reason C is not correct. Stepchildren qualify because they are considered dependent children. Question 19. An employee covered under a group health plan has a dependent child who will turn 26 inches 2 months. Which event qualifies that dependent child alone to elect COBRA continuation coverage? A. Reduction in the employee's weekly work hours below full-time status. B. Death of the covered employee. C. Divorce between the employee and spouse. D. Dependent child's attainment of age 26. The correct answer is D. When a dependent child ceases to meet the plan's definition of a dependent due to age, that loss of dependent status is a qualifying event only for the child. Reason A is not correct. A reduction in hours would qualify the employee and all dependents, not just the child. Reason B is not correct. Death of the employee qualifies both the employee's dependents but does not apply solely to the child. Reason C is not correct. Divorce is a qualifying event for spouse and dependent children, not exclusively for the child. Question 20. Jane is enrolled in her employer's group health plan and is also covered as a spouse under her husband's employer plan. Under coordination of benefits rules, which plan pays first for Jane's claims? A. Her husband's employer plan. B. Her own employer plan. C. The plan with the higher annual premium. D. The plan with the earliest enrollment date. The correct answer is B. When a person is covered as an employee under one plan and as a spouse under another, the plan covering them as an employee is primary. Reason A is not correct. A spouse's plan is secondary when the individual is also covered as an employee elsewhere. Reason C is not correct. Premium cost does not determine primary-secondary order under coordination of benefits rules. Reason D is not correct. Enrollment date does not affect primary plan determination between employee and spouse coverage. Enjoyed this practice test? Tap like, hit subscribe, and share it with a classmate. Got a question we should tweak? Comment below, we read them all. Find full practice exam books in the description or at ExamPrep.School.